Blueface, baby. Yeah, I bust down, Tatiana. Yeah, I wanna see you bust down. Bust down, Tatiana. Bust down, Tatiana. I wanna see you bust down. Pick it up, now break that shit down. Break it down, speed it up, then slow that shit down on the gang. Slow it down, bust it, bust down, bust it, bust it, bust down on the gang. Bust down, Tatiana. Bust down, Tatiana. I wanna see you bust down. Pick it up, now break that shit down. Break it down, speed it up, now slow that shit down on the gang. Slow it down, bust it, bust down, bust it, bust it, bust down on the gang. Blueface, baby. Yeah, I'm every woman's fantasy. Mama always told me I was gonna break hearts. I guess it's her fault, stupid. Don't be mad at me, I wanna see you bust down. Bust down. Bend that shit over on the gang. Yeah, make that shit clap.
Yeah, so basically, it was just the dragon was horny the whole time.
Oh, I'm definitely into that.
Yeah, it was cool. What are you doing? It's time for the podcast.
She threw it back, so I had to double back on the gang. Smacking high off them drugs. I tried to tell myself 2 times was enough. Then the nigga relapsed on the dead lows. Ain't no running, Tatiana. You gon' take these damn strokes. Tatiana. I beat the pussy up, now it's a murder scene. Keep shit player, Tatiana, like you ain't never even heard of me. Blueface, baby. Buzz down, Tatiana. I wanna see you buzz down. Buzz down. That shit over. Yeah, now make that shit clap on the gang. Now toot that thing up, toot it up, throw that shit back. I need my issue on the dead low. Bust down, Tatiana. Bust down, Tatiana. I wanna see you bust down. Pick it up, now break that shit down.
Hey, yeah, coming at you live, yeah, live from the underground, pop, 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 pop.
Yeah. No kids movies in this podcast.
Fuck kids movies, man.
Fucking exclusively kids movies in this podcast. Hello, welcome to episode 33 of To Be Honest. I'm Addison.
I'm Jackson.
And I'm the world's #1 How to Train Dragon fan, Josh X Dragon 3364. You can find me on the subreddit. How big are they? It's a dragon hentai.
Is that the dragon hentai?
Because we want to know how big they are.
And we watched How to Train Your Dragon 3, The Hidden World.
This is Berk, son. It was the home of your grandparents and their grandparents before them. But out there, beyond the edge of the world, lies the home of the dragons.
Directed by Dean DeBlois. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Deblois. I would say Debois if it didn't have the L. And the L throws me off, so I think it's like DeBlois.
DeBlois.
Let's just say the podcast or the Reddit subreddit isn't interested in the director.
Well, okay.
Dean DeBlois?
Dean DeBlois, sure.
Did he do the first 2?
He did. So actually, he wrote and directed the first one with another guy, a fellow named Chris Stewart, I think. Okay. Something like that. And then Chris Stewart departed, and Dean DeBlois
Chris
Sanders. I was close.
You were very close.
So he did the second and the third one, wrote and directed those.
Without Sanders?
Without Sanders, yeah. And so basically, they did the first movie, and then when DreamWorks approached them to do a sequel, he said, I will do a sequel for you if you allow me to also do a trilogy, because I see like a... He used, of course, the famous trilogy, Star Wars, as like a jumping off point to describe how he wanted to do it. So yeah, this is kind of his brainchild. It was based on a British children's book, right?
Mm-hmm. That kind of opened up a lot of things.
Yeah, called How to Fuck Your Dragon. So they kind of made
burst
some
people.
changes when they brought it to the
That's not
screen.
what it's called. I'm not ready for this, by the way. I know from the get-go I'm going to have my heart broken.
Okay, so we'll get it out of the way right now. Josh, as he said, is a huge fucking fan of this franchise.
We probably wouldn't have seen it without him.
We probably would not have seen it without him.
No. Ugh.
Would you care to give us a little background on your history with it?
Nope. DreamWorks.
No?
I'm waiting for that check. I got these two fucks to go see a movie that they would never see.
You just spit beer all over yourself.
You're right.
I don't know why that got me.
It was like a prop that you had there. Like you're about ready to spit beer.
Spit take for I guess. Well, you want my background?
I want your background, yeah, on How to Train Your Dragon.
I'm black. My dad is African American. He introduced me. No, I don't know what it was. I watched the first movie around, what was it, 2009 when it came out, I think.
So what, you were like 10?
In 2009, I will date myself. I was 14.
14, okay.
First one's a good movie though.
It's really good, and this is about the time where I'm like discovering that animation isn't just for kids, and that there's like a lot of thought and effort put into these things, even stuff that is for kids. And like I see this movie, and I think like, wow, there's a lot like it made me feel things as a 14-year-old that
like in your pantaloons, or
this is how I'm actually the originator of this subreddit. How big are they? r/how big. I don't know, just like kind of opened my eyes to what is what is possible for these types of movies.
I had a similar experience with the Lego movie as I did with this movie, where I thought it was just a kids movie, and I avoided the first one for a long time, and then it was just on TV one day, and I just like the characters are really likable, and it's easy, like you get drawn into the characters, and their story arcs are really cool, and so I was impressed with the first one. I liked it.
Yeah, and the first one definitely rewards a rewatch if you do go back and see it. I've seen it countless times, but it does, even today, it pulls at my heartstrings. There's a lot of emotional core to the first movie. The second one like carries off of that, or it tries to build off that and keep that momentum going. It's not there as much, but you can see the intention is still very much alive.
So the second one is a little bit darker, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, it is. It has a darker tone.
Yeah, because that was one thing that Dean DeBleh said, is that, again, going back to Star Wars, he wanted the middle chapter to be a little bit darker, and then the third chapter to have, the obvious spoilers, redemption, happy ending.
Well, so you haven't seen the first two.
I have not. This was my very, very first How to Train Your Dragon film. And I had some serious hesitations going into it, I'm not going to lie to you. Especially after seeing Lego Movie 2, which was just pure kiddie bullshit. I thought, great, now I have to sit through another 90 minutes and be bored. And I was especially intrigued, or rather, I watched it through the lens of, is this movie even accessible to someone who hasn't seen any of the other two movies? Does this stand on its own as a work, as a story? Because I feel like that's, fairly important.
Did it?
I think it did, for the most part. I gotta say that for the most part, I really like this movie.
Oh, no way!
Yeah, I did.
Oh, shit!
Yeah.
I'm excited.
So I was interested to see, and I agree with Jackson wholeheartedly in terms of the characters were pretty much instantly understandable. I pretty much knew who everyone was within the cast as soon as I saw them. The movie did a pretty good job of filling me in on some of the details of the story without making it overt or having it like a voiceover, once in the land of the Vikings, dragons and man lived in war and crash.
Well, that's actually how the opening of the first movie is.
Okay, well, fair enough.
Which is interesting. It's what's his face? Who's the dude from
Jay Baruchel?
No, who's the dude from what's that? I don't know. I'm losing it. I don't know names of movies apparently.
But who's is it? It's an actor.
He's the father. He's the father of
Stoic.
Gerard Butler. Yeah.
I was gonna say like Curtis Butler. These white people, man, come on with better names. That's how he opens the first one. It's like we've been fighting dragons since forever, and dragons are to be feared. And then there's like dragon like unleashing flames onto their little village.
Dragons.
Well, so what they did is, like, for example, with Toothless, right? Like, I have no idea what the significance of Toothless is. Like, he's just another dragon to me.
Yeah.
But they kind of laid out the seeds as far as, like, oh, okay, so he seems to be able to control all the other dragons. What's his special power? And they just kind of fill me in on the blanks. And so at no point did I ever feel lost as to what the motivation was for these characters, kind of who they are. So I was impressed with it. And then I do think that this movie pretty much stands on its own 2 feet as far as like I thought it had a nice tight 3-act structure.
Yes.
Like it set up the conflict very early on. We have the F. Murray Abraham, love you F. Murray, who's the evil bad guy dragon guy.
He's unique enough too. He's not your typical bad guy. I mean, he pretty much is, but he's not. There's some little flair to him.
Yeah, he has like his own little backstory that he shares in the evil guy monologue. In the second act. Was he in the other movies? I'm assuming he wasn't.
He wasn't. No.
Okay.
They actually referenced the villain from the second movie when they're all in the bad guy base together.
They do, yeah.
They're like, oh well, he killed the villain from the second movie, and he's like, oh, he was a pushover.
Oh, okay.
That's where this guy's the ultimate baddie.
And that was Jima Husu, I think, who voiced that guy. Jima Husu.
Which guy? Oh,
the
yeah,
bad guy in the
black
second
dude,
movie, the
yeah.
black dude.
He was also in The Hobbit, I think. He was the white orc.
Oh,
I'm pretty fact check.
I could actually see that.
There's gonna be a fact check.
Something interesting you mentioned there, though, was probably the hardest thing to gather without seeing the first 2 movies. I think would be like the idea of the alpha dragon, because that's something that I feel like I didn't like that in the second movie. Because the first movie, it's not in it at all. Like basically, it's them discovering that dragons are just like us, where they have personalities. You can bond with them. They're not these terrible villains that they think they are. And in the second movie, it introduces the idea of a dragon alpha that basically has the ability to turn these dragons into just like mindless robots by intimidating them and like, yeah, pretty much just like giving them a mean mug. And then at the end, Toothless becomes the alpha, and he's able to break all the other dragons from their like mind control.
We need a better plan! And quick! What are you doing? Okay.
I was actually wondering if that would come through enough for you, Addison, like because he is an alpha, and I thought they didn't explain it well enough.
Yeah,
for someone who hasn't seen the first 2, I thought you might be like kind of turned off from it because it's like, why can he do this?
I accepted it because it falls in line with the rest of the story, because we have Hiccup, who's the son of a king, right? Who's meant to fulfill some great chieftain. Mm-hmm. Yes, sorry. And so it makes sense to me that his little dragon pal is also going to hold some place of promise, promise of power.
They definitely mirror each other, and they have the exact same story.
Pretty much.
Okay.
They pretty much have the exact... Well, just in this movie. The first 2 as well. I think it's throughout... They have pretty much the same arc, but in this movie it's very clear where you have Toothless, who needs to like find a mate, but also learn to be on his own. And then Hiccup needs to be on his own as well, and he's playing with the idea of marrying Astrid or whatever.
He's trying to clap those cheeks.
He's trying to clap those, yeah. America Ferrera chicos.
Yep.
So it's like when he gets together with White Girl, White Rider, or what's her name? These white dragons, man.
Astrid?
Come up with better names.
Oh,
the Light Fury.
Light Fury. Yeah, Light Fury.
And yeah, just pretty much the same like mirroring of character arcs, which is
Yeah.
nice to like if you want to like watch a movie and know like what a host of characters are doing. It's nice to have like interesting like parallel effect.
My heart broke it, made friends and lost them through the years.
Something else I noticed about this movie pretty much right away that I felt set it apart from the other movies is that the animation and just how it looks in this movie is amazing.
It's incredible. We saw it on the XD screen at the Century 16
Only way we
Belmar.
see movies.
Pretty much the only way we see movies, to be honest.
Oh man, we were going for a long time without saying it.
I know, and it wasn't really even my intention. But it was worth every fucking penny of the $50 ticket to see this thing in XD because the animation is stunning.
The first two look kind of cartoonish.
Yes, and this one does not. This one has, I felt like, a much more realistic edge to it. And the I guess cinematography, it feels weird.
The angles are different.
Yeah, there are these sweeping cinematic angles, like these high tilt shots that come down.
Yeah, even
like a slow arc, and like it's really just visually incredible. Honestly, like I was blown away by some of those opening shots that they had.
You think they like doubled their budget or something the way it looks compared to the first two?
I mean, even like the peach fuzz, you know, like the
Right.
small details too that they had with Hiccup with his little peach fuzz on his face.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. I thought the first two. I think the third one's better, but it might have just been where we were seeing it. I thought the first. That's like what drew me into the anime or to the story as well, was the animation. It felt very like lifelike, and there was like almost an uncanniness to the nature itself, not the characters, because they're still very much like an animation. But yeah, I mean, this one, there's that scene where they're showing the hidden world, and like the water's rushing
that was
down.
Incredible, yeah.
I was like, oh, that's just a shot of the ocean. Like they just went outside and got on a fucking boat, rendering just for weeks,
Forever
for weeks
and
for that
ever.
one shot.
And the lighting was incredible too. So one thing, I don't remember his name. His name is
Roger Deakins, and he's a fucking legend.
but the cinematographer, I think, is the same one from the first two movies too. So I do feel,
Interesting.
and I got the sense that this movie is like a labor of love. Like everybody involved with it really cared about it and wanted it to be the best it could possibly be to close out this trilogy. So yeah, the cinematography and then the lighting too. Like there's one scene I don't know if you guys remember the scene in the clearing when he finds the little poison needle, you know, and the trap. Like all of the fuck you. All of the like subtleties and grades of lighting that were present in that shot were pretty incredible. Like just a real attention to detail there. And there's another one where a dragon's like laying on his side and there's like a little bit of light peeking in between his horn and his ear, like on his face coming through. So I don't know, like a lot of times it looked almost real.
The scene that got me was I think it was actually the first scene when they're doing like the night raid, and the way they used the moonlight on the characters with the shadows. I was like, wow, this is like a step above what I thought they had been doing in the past.
Yeah, no, I was pretty much immediately taken in. The opening scene, I was kind of like, okay, because they had to have the assembly of the characters, and they all have their dumb quips that they come onto the scene with. And
I was nervous about that. Too many quips. I was like, please don't fuck this up.
yeah, please don't be Lego Movie 2 and just be inundated with like half-assed quips.
Oh, the pain. It's getting so cold.
Emmett, what are you doing?
Hooray!
I think that kind of leads into my next question, which is, what do you guys think of like the supporting cast of like side characters that are all supposed to be like pretty goofy and funny? Like they're the comic relief.
They mostly fell flat for me. Tough Nut and Rough Nut
God,
could
cut
have
'em.
easily lost them. I mean, they were important
They're
for
very
a couple
prevalent.
plot points, but yeah, they were in the movie a lot. And honestly, I tuned out anytime either of them opened their mouths.
I just don't get the humor.
yeah.
It works better in the first one. I mean, and maybe just because it's like, I'm not used to that, but they were trying to replicate T.J. Miller's humor, and
Fuck TJ Miller.
and then fuck T.J. Miller.
Which
like,
we should note, he's not in this one.
he's not. No.
Which is
As far as
interesting.
we can tell, yeah. I mean, we looked up the cast list. It doesn't look like he reprises his role as Tough Nut. It's some other guy, Michael
So
Something Rupley.
Ruppely or
Rupert.
Rupert.
Rupet.
So yes, they substitute T.J. Miller with another guy, and then instead of only giving that guy a couple lines to make it seem like the character's still around, he's like the most prevalent side character.
Yeah, he's like giving Hiccup tips on women and the fucking beard jokes.
The beard joke. God, they thought they really had something.
Yeah,
there.
he was really.
Well, I'm sorry, but the guy next to us definitely thought that was the best part of the movie.
Which I think that guy went to Metro with us, by the way.
Really?
I think so.
Oh, that's why I was laughing at all those jokes.
Yeah.
I guess we should say that
stupid.
For those of you who didn't go out and see this opening weekend, the beard joke is that he just takes his long hair and ties it around his chin and says he has like the best beard ever, and this is like a continuous like gag through the movie.
I mean, talk about being a dead horse. It is. I mean, it is the jump off point for at least like 10 to 15 jokes in the movie, none of which landed for me. I was just like, oh, okay, yeah. We get it. You want a beard. You want to be manly, like the Viking.
My boy Toothless is the funniest character.
Toothless is great.
Yeah, super expressive, really funny. I like that he's kind of a blend between a cat and a dog. Like, he has the characteristics of both. That just makes him... And he has the best characteristics of both, basically. So he's just immediately relatable and lovable.
Yeah.
He's got the googly eyes, but he's got the dog tongue that he expresses himself with.
Yes.
Yeah.
And some of the, like... bitchiness of a cat, kind of moody.
But also he has, like, out of the dragons, he has some of the most, like, humanistic characteristics where he hugs Hiccup sometimes, like a human would.
And that also probably went a ways towards allowing me to accept this alpha status for him, because he clearly seemed smarter than the other dragons and had a personality. So I was like, yeah, of course he'd be the leader then. Right. And then he can do all of his other cool little powers like lightning, invisibility, and et cetera, once he charges up his mana.
He's like the main character in Planet of the Apes.
What? The ape?
Caesar?
Caesar. He's like Caesar.
Yeah, I could see that. Maybe a little less cranky.
This is kind of like a Planet of the Apes plot where you have this character who is like, no, they don't. They're misunderstood.
Right.
And then you have these outside people who are just like, no, they're violent, and we'll never accept them.
Yeah, and you have to have that contrast between the two peoples, the dragons and the humans. Both are in fear of each other, both misunderstand each other. Right. It's almost, kind of like some things that happen in real life, you guys.
Whoa.
People have differences, and just because you're different doesn't mean you're wrong.
But you know what unites us all? Love.
Dragon hentai.
You know what's really important is that a community isn't the place, it's the people.
Oh. I love that scene. Very moving. I am disappointed that we start with the village of Brook, whatever it's called. Breck.
Is that the, treetop village, the Ewok village?
No. It's where the Vikings are from.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like the Ewok village in the beginning, where they're all, living on towers and shit.
Oh, yeah. Well, they do that at the end, too.
Like in treetops.
Okay, fine. You're wrong.
Okay. Please, would you fucking get on with it?
Well, they started with no dragons. They're not afraid of dragons, or they're afraid of dragons and they think they're violent and all that stuff. And then they end with no dragons. The whole arc is that. I mean, I know that they have a better understanding.
Is this the first movie you're talking about?
No, all three.
Oh, three.
Because the first one ends with them being in unison with dragons. Second one ends with the same thing.
Yes.
Third one ends with they don't have dragons. They've learned to live without them, and they know that they're not afraid of them. But it is slightly not as satisfying, I think, that there is no compatibility with them. I don't know. It felt a little bit blown.
So you thought the ending was blown?
A little, not really, but I just thinking about it now, if that seems like that's the whole point that they're getting to, it doesn't feel as weighty.
I love the ending.
Okay.
I thought that it had a lot of gravity to it. Like, they could have easily just been like a happy-go-lucky dragon people village. And
we figured it out after all.
Kind of like how the second one ended, actually, where they are playing the dragon racing game that they figured out with the sheep at the end of the movie, where they're just like, yeah.
That's in the first one too.
They're just like, yeah, we figured out we're living in harmony until the next thing that comes along to disrupt it. But in this one, they realize that they can't live with the dragons without threatening their existence.
And
I think that was a really ballsy move, separating these main characters, Toothless and Hiccup. Basically their story arcs are intertwined this whole series.
Right.
Like we've been saying, and then to have them separated at the end, pretty much for the most part, they do there's a scene at the very, very end where they're reunited. I think was a really ballsy move, and I liked it.
Yeah, I guess I was saying I didn't like it in comparison to how we began the trilogy. But maybe I'm thinking about it differently. I do like the ending. I like the whole movie. I just didn't. I thought there could have been something different.
It feels like it just means something. Like when you,
like it's over.
Well, so the prevalent theme of the movie is love, and that's kind of the basis of it, anyways. And how it develops is essentially that love is what did the father say? That love and loss are basically two sides of the same coin, right? Can't have one without the other. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's a good theme to put forth, especially because what this movie is about at the end is that they both find their soulmate or whatever, and they get married and they start a family or whatever. And it's a good message, I think, to send that, like, not everything's going to end how you expect it to. Yeah. It's not all going to be Hollywood romance. Like, love and loss are two of the same things. And they even joke about it in the beginning when he's like, take it from me, Toothless, like, relationships are nothing but misery. And
so funny.
yeah.
I got a lot of laughs from that.
I got a lot of laughs. So no, I think that this movie had a pretty on point and poignant message as far as love is concerned, insofar as it was different than a lot of other movies, where a lot of other movies, they end with the culmination of the love. Yeah. This one, shows the loss of it and how that affects...
How it's still positive.
Yes. How it's still a good part of the experience.
They showed these two characters through the lens of the passage of time, and they didn't hold their punches. Yes. And it would have been easy to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And so speaking of that line, I did want to talk a little bit about the humor.
I would like to just cap that off with, you guys just changed my fucking mind. It's happened, everyone. They changed my mind about How to Train Your Dragon. Okay.
Like you hate it now, or?
No, now I do. I like the way that you talked about the ending. I now agree.
Good. So I think there was some really good humor in this movie. Now,
absolutely.
Nothing that reached the levels of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which we all know is my favorite fucking movie of all time, basically, because I can't stop talking about it. But there was some really funny stuff in here.
Give me an example.
Well, my favorite scene, the scene that sticks out to me the most, is Toothless's mating dance.
Accordion.
With the shadow against the wall.
Shadow against the rock.
Yeah. Where it cuts back to the humans, and then it cuts back to him, and he's like mid-lick on the rock and rubbing up against it, and then they deliver on that promise with the actual mating dance that he does with Light Fury. Where he's like doing like the
he's
chicken,
like a peacock,
the Chuck Berry dance around and like flapping his wings, and then I have a note in here that artists get ladies, which came to me because he was very unsuccessful in his mating dance up to that point, but when he draws a little portrait of her with the sand, that's when he kind of gets her attention.
Charmed him.
Another note that I have is that sando. That sand was insane. Like, can you imagine how long it took to animate like those millions of fucking grains of sand that they had just for like a 2-second shot of him dragging a stick?
They have like 500 people every day working on it.
Just in a sweatshop, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. DreamWorks is a child labor institution. Where's my check?
Buy our silence.
Other instances of humor, definitely for me, actually came from an external source, which was Jason, the young boy that was sitting just a couple seats down from me.
This is a real person.
This is a real person. A couple of choice observations that he made. One was when the fat Viking character, the blonde one, came on for the first time. Jason said he had a mustache.
Very observant.
And I was like, Jason, that's absolutely true. He does have a mustache. But then actually it was kind of cute when Toothless does his mating dance and he kind of wins her over, and he's like obviously really pumped about it. Jason said, he's drunk in love.
Oh. Yeah. He's not supposed to know what that means.
I know. I was like, I'm drunk in love.
Let's go see a movie.
Don't worry, Mom's just been drinking too much love again.
I'm drunk.
She had a lot of love
Jason,
tonight.
Grab some of the love from the fridge there, honey.
If you open a bottle of love, it'll go bad if you don't drink it.
Your name's from a love, goddammit. I don't love you, Jason.
I don't love Jason. He was the one with the light up shoes,
With the light
right?
up shoes.
That motherfucker.
Who was fucking just walking back and forth. At one point, he was directly in front of me, and then he just did a slow, and then just quickly scooted
That
away
was actually
back to
kind
his
of
mom.
freaky when you just see the outline of like a small human up against the screen.
I thought his head was like twisting around on its neck because the rest of his body wasn't moving.
What was the worst is that theater had the seats that prop you up or prop your legs up. He would prop his shoes up and then light them up and just like wave them around in the air.
And he also loved the reclining seat. It was like, brr, 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 eh, eh, brr. His mom just half-assedly was like, "Stop it, Jason."
I know his
Stop
parents
it."
like they punched in. And
Yeah.
they were just like waiting for the clock to tick by
Yeah.
before they could drag their shitty kids back home.
My guess is that she's a teen mom, probably saw How to Train Your Dragon at 14, like Josh, got pregnant shortly thereafter. So this was a very meaningful culmination for her when it happened.
Sad.
Yeah, it's sad.
That took a dark turn. Sorry, Jason. Sorry that
Wear
happened that way.
condoms.
Sorry about your teen mom, Jason.
That reminds me of towards the end when the dragons are leaving Burke. Everyone's leaving, and it's a tender moment. And down the aisle to my right, you hear a little child go. It's like making noises, like cooing, like, and then like it's very silent, and you go, "Dragon," and then Jackson turns to me and he passes. He's like, "It's okay, Josh. Don't worry."
I just want you to feel like the dragons were.
I felt like
thought that was
screaming.
you.
I felt like screaming, "Dragons! No! Don't go!"
Do any other jokes stand out to you guys? Like, are there any that come to your mind? Or
I think you pretty much got it there.
Yeah, I don't. It's not a very funny movie, and there are some
there's
parts
some
that
giggles, you know. There's some
sure
good.
I laughed.
but a lot of
I
it's
did laugh.
visually based. Like, I won't say that it's
Yeah.
because people are saying funny things.
Well, it's because
that-
it's mostly Toothless who doesn't say anything.
right. And Toothless is a charming son of a bitch,
He is. Well,
Oh, good boy.
buddy.
whoever is doing like the animation for him obviously has like a good sense of humor, you know, doing it because
Yeah.
it's like we said, it's all, you know, it's nonverbal humor with Toothless.
Yeah, the Lego Movie 2, most of the source of the moments where I was like, was the visuals. But this actually takes it to another level where I went,
Yeah, I would appreciate if you stopped talking about Lego Movie 2.
yeah, yeah.
That makes me sick to my stomach.
So,
General thoughts, maybe?
I would just one more note on the humor. I felt like there were long stretches of dialogue that made me.
I think that's what bored Jason.
Sure, yeah, and I think
Jason's a harsh critic.
dialogue is important in this movie, but
Harsh but fair.
I also felt like. Was this the Jason cast?
Please read his blog, Light Up Shoes, Light Up Life.
And a
Drunken love.
dragon, and a lady dragon.
Oh,
All right, sorry,
dragon.
Josh, you were trying to make a point.
It's not that important.
Okay.
Just that the humor there sometimes felt like too far and few in between.
What do you think about the Light Fury just moaning the whole movie?
I was actually really worried seeing this trailer. I was like, fuck, this looks like some bullshit. When you see like these two dragons like falling in love. It's like, oh, it's found another Night Fury.
Toothless has a girlfriend.
Man, that's gonna be the whole movie. This is gonna be whack.
There was like a 5 to 10 minute period where the movie really sagged for me, where they were, and I think it's when they were like flying through the clouds, and
I love that.
like he had just had his tail fixed. I don't know. It was just kind of like, yeah, okay, I get it. Like, let's.
It did take its time, which was kind of. It's a 2-hour movie almost.
Almost.
And it took its time, but it also, for the most part, didn't feel like I'm like, okay, let's. What is the point of this? There's a couple points where I was like, maybe we could have cut this, but it felt like. I mean, I guess maybe it was the visual that was carrying that through, like that scene where they are flying together.
The scene, the
It's a
part in
pointless
the in the
scene.
thunder cloud was really cool, but then some of the other parts I was just like, all right, yeah, I get it. Let's move on.
They needed that bonding, though.
Yes,
the purpose for that.
I appreciate the purpose that it served. I felt like maybe it could have been cut down just a tiny bit, because this was, as you said, an hour and 45 minutes. I don't think it would have been hurt at all if it was an hour and 35, hour and 40, just a little bit off the top.
Would you watch this again?
Yeah, Probably if it was, God damn it,
on TV. Or
if it was
like
on TV, I would absolutely fold laundry to
big
it.
old load of laundry.
Yeah, big old just fucking fat load of laundry dropped in that machine.
Oh my god.
That took a sharp turn.
I just did some laundry today. Didn't watch any movies.
I don't know that I'd go out of my way to.
You're not going to drag the family back to the movie
no.
theater to watch this again.
No, absolutely not. That said, though, I would recommend this movie. Joshua?
Yep. You know me.
Did it live up to your expectations?
Yeah, I think my expectations were that it's just going to be fine. It's not going to be bad. There's no way that they make this a bad movie. I thought it was just going to be fine and like get by. And it exceeded that. So, yeah, it's beyond my expectations. My expectations were low, though.
Cool.
Jackson?
I really like this movie. Like you said, there were some slow points for me. My least favorite part of this movie is the kind of the side cast of characters. I don't find them funny, and anytime they came on the screen to like try to inject humor where it wasn't needed, I just rolled my eyes and kind of just put up with it. My favorite parts of this movie was the humor with Toothless, really cool character, and then also the ending just like blew me away that they didn't like just basically phone it in and like take the easy way out. They actually tried to like make you feel something. So I would absolutely recommend it. Probably go see it in theaters. The second one I wasn't a huge fan of. Like that one, I watched that last night actually for the first time, and it did not get me excited for this movie. I was actually kind of dreading it, and I drank coffee in preparation so I wouldn't fall asleep again. Which you don't normally do. I don't, but I didn't want to fall asleep again like I did in Lego Movie because that was I felt kind of bad about that I tried to do a podcast about a movie I slept through.
That's the perfect way to describe Lego Movie too.
What Jackson's trying to say is he's very, very sorry.
I'm sorry. Even though that was
thumbs up.
That was a good podcast. But
it was.
Go see this movie. It's a great movie. It's written well. It's, like we said, the animation's beautiful. So
yeah, whatever drawbacks it has, it more than makes up for in other areas. I would agree with you. Go see this in theaters. It actually is worth the $10, $15, whatever you're going to pay to go see it, because it is visually breathtaking, and just a nice experience. Something that's better served, I feel like, kind of in a communal environment where people are laughing and feeling at the same time than just watching it stoned in your basement.
Sequels
after
are
like
fucking
18
hard to
beers
do, and
in the dark.
They did it well.
After eating like 16 pieces of pizza.
Anyway, get me.
If you have any questions, concerns, complaints, please email us at tobehonestcast@gmail.com. You gentlemen have any parting words?
If you made it this far, thanks.
Thank you, as always, for listening and watching. We appreciate your patronage and support. Arigato. We're very excited about where this is going, and we hope you are too.
Blueface, baby.
Okay. I hope you